Alright guys, let's continue with our battle report of the event from last weekend. Intelcom, Shasvastii for 5 games, came out with a win after game round 1. Second game up against Haqqislam, so it's Shasvastii versus Haqqislam, and the mission is acquisition. So the game plan is to try to end the game with your data tracker in the middle objective. I'll sort of point out what you're seeing here in this image. So down here is my deployment zone. In fact, we're just going to move the cam for a sec. Why don't I just get a bit of a better color? Yellow. So this is the deployment zone here for Shasvastii. You can see Shishkin here. You can see Bit and Kiss are actually inside the building and there. Drawn around the side. But importantly, there is an objective right here. You can see the HVT. And the plan is basically to get the data tracker there. I mean, you get so many points for doing that. The other two objectives are relevant, but not as relevant as that one. There's another one back here, another one over here. So that's what the bat rep's going to be, about, is accomplishing that. But before we get into the actual game, I want to take the time to explain some background behind this particular game, because the background is fairly important for this one. So I'm up against my very good friend Will from Christchurch, and this is Will's first infiNity tournament, and in fact he only started playing infiNity last month. He's only had like 2 or 3 games as far as I know. So I'm coming into this game as the favorite, given that I've been playing infiNity like once a week for 2 or 3 years, and I do a lot of reporting on it and stuff. But that's the wrong way to view this. Will is a guy that actually played against me in War Machine Hordes for the several years that I was playing. And back in, I think, 2011, when I first sort of got into War Machine, I was really practicing up a lot and playing a lot. And in 2012, that's when I sort of, I think, won my first big tournament. It might have been 2013, but there was this one particular year where I was just crushing it with War Machine. So I was coming first in events in Auckland and Wellington and Christchurch, just all the main events. And for 1 year, I was at the top. But I basically peaked. I reached the top, and I came back down again. And Will was the guy that basically took my place for a couple of years. So it was him winning all the main tournaments. And what I'm trying to say is that this guy has a pretty big background in war games. After I switched over to, here's a picture of him here. It's the photo of us chilling at the pub after the game later that evening, having a good time. But after I switched over to infiNity, Will went over to Guild Ball and did really, really well at that. So coming into infiNity, just last month, we were playing Overwatch on Discord, and him and some of the guys in Christchurch were talking about getting into it, and I actually ended up selling my Haqqislam army to him. So showing up down to Wellington with, not just my Shasvastii stuff in my gaming bag, but also my Haqqislam stuff. So Will is actually using my Haqqislam models, which you guys have seen in my YouTube bat reps before, against my combined stuff here. So that's sort of what's going on here. Me playing against a player who is one of, in my opinion, one of the top 3 wargamers in this whole country, although he's just not as experienced with infiNity. So you've got to view this particular matchup as not an easy walkover in terms of my opponent being easy to beat, but me having an edge just based on my experience with infiNity. Also, he's playing Haqqislam, but he's playing a Haqqislam list that I've basically written for him. So I have a pretty good idea of what deployment he's got. He doesn't really know so much about what I've got on my list. So before we get into the bat rep itself, I want to sort of put that out there. As usual, taking some photos of my hidden deployment. 1 Nocta 4 on the left, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the right. And you'll sort of see more clearly throughout the game that they're dotted along the deployment zones. If we just take the pen again, so one of them is here, one of them is here, and one of them is on the building that's further over the corner, over the side. Okay, so just a little bit more about my deployment zone. You've got Shishkin on the building here. She's the data tracker. Back here is the Dr. Worm. We've got an R drone over the corner, another Echidron around here. This is the Shrouded hanging out right there. Its plan is just to basically walk across the map up there to the objective on my left. And you can sort of see the left-hand objective here with the Asswang Lieutenant as well. So pretty standard sort of stuff here. You can see his Ghazis in the distance. Now, I have to stress again, my opponent, although he's watched bat reps on my YouTube channel before, seeing me use Noctifers, he hasn't played against Shasvastii before. He does not know that I have 3 Noctifer missile launchers in hidden deployment. So he's actually starting with first turn with his Gazi Matewas and some of his other troops actually out in the open, in open sort of front of deployment, ready to get blasted. Although they can throw smoke though, so there's a decent chance of him blocking that. In this particular game, I think I lost the lieutenant's role, and he's decided to pick tableside, and I've decided to go second, as usually is the plan. At least that's what I recall anyway. That may not be correct. It's just what I vaguely remember. Okay, on my opponent's side, so you can see what's going on here. There's the baggage bot at the back, but he's just deployed in a line. Actually, this is quite interesting because he's got 2 Gazis, plus the Breed and the Nufatun. So he's planning on using a coordinated order just to run forward into the middle of the table. Just not such a great idea given how many missile launchers I've actually got. But yeah, again, he's not that familiar with how my factorial works. And on his middle zone here, you've got HVT there, a couple of Gazis, a Lasik sniper that is prone. And on the right-hand side here, a doctor that's prone next to a Jambazan, which is behind this this little billboard here. Sorry, I got a little bit of a sniffle, guys. Excuse me. There's the prone Jambazan with the war core behind him down on the bottom level. I have gone for a Speculo Killer as my reserve trooper. And the whole point of him is to just hang out right here so that he can walk down the ladder, then walk across here and just go and contest the objective at the end of the game. He's not there for fighting. He's the backup in case Shishkin dies or gets isolated, just so I can go over and get some points out of that. We've also got our old HVT here nearby as well. This, I believe, is a mission where you've got to deploy a little bit further out than normal, so the HVTs have to be even further out than normal, as far as I can recall. Okay, he's also got some camo markers. So this guy here is a Al-Hawa assault hacker, I believe. Not an assault hacker, Fort Observer. Then he's got, I think, a Tuareg just deploying a marker state in the middle rather than hidden deployment. Sort of see over here that there's another, I think this is a Farzan right next to the billboard and the HVT on his side. Got a Nafatun back here, likely to be a lieutenant or something like that. And oh yeah, actually there's even another one back here which is even more likely to be a lieutenant because it's even more of a safe location, and you can sort of see where my Specular Killer is further up there. So that's it for deployment. Actually, no, that's not it for deployment. He's even got his Rafiq remote there as well, which is pretty good for me because he's deployed it right next to guys that are going to get hit by missiles. So we'll see how that goes. So here it is. First thing of the game, Impetuous move out. Now, I know that if I reveal the Noctifer right now, then he's going to be able to shoot me with his Jambazan straight away. So normally it's not really a good idea to just reveal your Noctifer, straight away where there's going to be a smoke grenade and Jambazan shooting me. But the reason why I'm going to go for it is that destroying the Gazi Matewas early is way more important. If I can basically clear out all Gazi Matewas from his list earlier on, that enables me to win much more easily at the end of the game because I've got a Shrouded, I've got a Shishkin, I've got Bit and Kiss, I've got the Speculo, all troopers which can go and actually pick up the objectives quite easily at the end, as long as they don't get jammed. So I'm willing to let him fire at my Noctifer with this Jambazan. There's an opportunity for me to actually just tank a couple of hits and go prone behind the cover. Also, it may take him several orders to get rid of him, and those orders spent on the Jambazan are not orders being spent on other guys like if he's got a Fide or a Rajik showing up and blasting me. Also, the template is going to affect the Gazi there. So if I get a hit, even if it doesn't beat the smoke grenade, I believe it still clips his other Gazi there. So that's what happens. One of his guys is blown up. The other guy does pass the smoke and does successfully plant it down, enabling the Jambazan to stand up and start shooting me. Oh crap, we've got a really blurry photo here. What I believe is going on in the blurry photo is that the other guys is moving out, and we've got even more. Oh my god, I can't skip past this. Okay, so the other Gazi now moves out, throws a smoke grenade, does manage to block the Noctifer. This is all happening before any Jambazans move though, because we're still in the Impetuous phase just in general. Once we get over that though, the Jambazan does stand up, starts shooting at the Noctifer, and does manage to win some face-to-face rolls against it, of course, as you'd expect it to. Got the the other Ghazi that did manage to survive the shootout against the missile launcher, move into a bit of cover here right behind this objective. Now, when he moves out with his troops that we saw clustered up over here, I've decided to spring my second Noctifer, just because this one is not in line of sight of the Jambazan at all. So this one should be safe. Just shooting a missile over here. And this, again, does get blocked by a smoke grenade, but blows up the Barid. That's another model taken down. He does manage to get his other troops into cover, though. He's got his Rafiq in there, and his Ghazi is now out of line of sight of the missile lanes. So this gives him an opportunity to throw down a smoke grenade on the objective, just blocking it off from me. He's now going to be able to start operating over here, pressing this button, interacting with my HVT, perhaps, without getting line of sight to the Noctifer. So what are we looking at here? There's the Ghazi, there's the Al-Hawa. It's Rafiq's down there. He's got his... this marker you can see here is actually a Tuareg. I believe what he's about to do is attempt to interact with my HVT. He's got a special classified which requires him to hack my HVT, as far as I recall. And there you can see there, Tuareg assault hacker going after the HVT successfully and passing his check as well, so that picks up a classified for Haqqislam. Elsewhere, the Warcorps moving over here with his irregular order, just be annoying. He is not in line of sight of the missile just because of the template there, and the Noctifer on my left has been destroyed. So now what he can do is move up with his Al-Hawa, just get into a bit of a better position around this corner. He does have a shotgun, so he's going to be better at close range. Finally, it's my turn. So with everything done, time for Bit and Kiss to move out. And the reason why I want to move Bit and Kiss is there is an opportunity for me to slice around and get line of sight to some of his Ghazi and Mutiwas. And this is my submachine gun, right? So it's shock ammo. So if I can beat them in if I can beat them in face-to-face rolls, that's going to allow me to get rid of them with shock. And the sooner I can get rid of the jammers, the better. Before that, though, because he has chosen not to actually put his Tuareg back into camo state, Bit is firing a repeater. We can see that white token right next to him. That allows me to hit him with a Maestro and destroy him. After that's been done, Bit moves around and picks off line of sight to this Ghazi here, shredding him with the submachine gun, which is excellent. And then, because I've got a few orders left, moving back around the other side of the building to try and take on this Al-Hawa. Now, unfortunately, it's not an Al-Hawa hacker, so I'm having to move in with an adhesive launcher and the submachine gun, but it's up against camo and a boarding shotgun. So after a few face-to-face rolls, unsuccessfully managing to not actually pick up the Al-Hawa here, although I do think I did manage to take out one of his Nafatuns. Actually can't remember what happened in this face-to-face roll. I guess it'll become a bit more apparent later, but I'm just shooting the submachine gun at this guy while potentially trying to pick off this guy with an adhesive launcher. But I'm just doing this because I've only got a couple of orders left. In hindsight, maybe what I should have done is I should have just left Kiss there and put Bit back behind the cover of the building just to make it harder for him to get her, because to be honest, to kill her they would have had to come through the street and the missiles are sitting there. So I think that's a bit of a mistake by me, just to try and trade Bit for another model out here. It's not really the wisest thing to do. Having to shoot at him with a boarding shotgun ends up not working and backfires in my face, and he does manage to beat me with the boarding shotgun here, and Bit dies. Okay, so Ghazi Matiwas moving out with Impetuous at this point. Here's a photo of one of them just moving through around here, not in range of any missiles. He is not quite in line of sight with his Ghazi back around here. The missile launcher through here just doesn't quite have a line, but this does allow him to put down a smoke grenade somewhere, and it's going to allow him to move out with his Jambazan. So with the smoke grenade having shown up here, it also allows him to move his Ghazi through this direction and get to the spot here where he'll be in range of Shishkin. So his plan here is, because the Ghazi has managed to basically survive another shootout with the missile launcher, he's going to come in and try and do some jammering with the irregular order and so forth. So that's what happens. Comes through, goes up against Shishkin. Shishkin whip 13, Ghazi whip 15. He does beat with the face-to-face roll, and despite BTS 3, fail the BTS check. So Shishkin is isolated, which is a bit of a problem. It's a bit unlucky for me in the sense that I could have killed the Ghazi with a couple of missiles earlier, and I could have beaten him off with the face-to-face rolls, given that he's got limited orders to do this. but it's not horribly, unlucky. He still, made the play, and he still had a good opportunity to get me here. And I still have a doctor to potentially revive the isolated state later. And it's not the only way that I can win by getting a data track there, but it is annoying that this happens. Still, the game must go on. So, seeing that I've got a doctor nearby, he's able to move his Ghazi just through around to here and jammer me with the Ghazi here, without too many orders left, with the Ghazi being in the second group. But unfortunately, the doctor fails the whip check as well, fails the face-to-face roll and the BTS check. So this is me getting even more unlucky to lose both the doctor and the and Shishkin. So this makes it even harder, really, for me to actually remove isolation state from Shishkin, seeing as even if I get the doctor, over there, like if Shishkin and the doctor sort of move together to meet each other with their irregular orders, I still only have one attempt because I can't continue spending orders on the doctor, which is quite frustrating, to be honest. Okay, so seeing his good opportunity here with the smoke grenade already in place, the Jambazan climbs down the side of the building and moves over here to get line of sight of my my Noctifer. Now, I believe we found that the range was suboptimal for the HMG. I can't quite remember, but either way, the Noctifer shooting back would need a 6 to hit the smoke, and the Jambazan shooting some bullets, either needing 12s or 6s. I can't quite remember what the odds were there, but I do remember the Jambazan getting quite unlucky and losing against the missile, and gets destroyed by the Noctifer. So very unlucky for our Haqqislam friend here. So I've just gone through a patch of bad luck myself. He's now gone through a bit of a spike of bad luck here, and the Noctifer is still around. If the Jambazan does kill the Noctifer, I still have an opportunity to still carry out and win the game later. There are a few things that can happen. I mean, the Shrouded can take out the Jambazan potentially. Shishkin might still be able to get a little bit done with her single order. But it would have been a lot harder with that particular, with the Jambazan still there. Elsewhere, Walker just moving into cover just to be an annoyance, really, as the game sort of gets through the mid-game and starts moving into the late game. Nearby, we've still got the Shrouded, but his Ghazi is just poking right into the cover here, just to be super annoying. Troops are going to be going through there and getting jammed as they go through to the final objective, so that's what's happening with that one. Elsewhere, he's putting, I believe, his Al-Hawa back into camo state, so that's going to be handy when he moves out with that. And now it's my turn. Okay, so Shrouded starts here, moves over here, and this allows his Ghazi to delay. I actually make a mistake here and sort of have a bit of a mind blank and realize that I should have just waited for the delay to wear off and then spin new order shooting him. But I ended up going for the shot anyway, and he hits me with a chain rifle. Now, all things considered, it's not so much about moving out with the Shrouded, it's more about getting rid of that Ghazi if possible, because it's blocking me off for any attempts to move out and go for the middle objective or to move out with troops on that side of the table. So what ends up happening here is I do get lucky, and the Shrouded does pass its chain rifle armor save, and the Ghazi is shot by the combo rifle, but really sloppy game for me so far. I've made a couple mistakes, and this is probably one of the worst mistakes in this particular game. So Shrouded able to clear out the Ghazi very luckily, even though he's got dogged, so kudos to the Shrouded. What I'm now able to do is to move Shishkin down behind the building with her single irregular order, and the doctor moves over next to her with the single irregular order. And that's going to set me up for a final turn push, where at the end of the game, I can take one whip check with the doctor to try and revive Shishkin, 14 or less, and if that passes, Shishkin's going to be able to move out and win pretty convincingly. If I don't pull that off, the Speculo is going to have to go through and actually touch the middle objective without dying. It may well be possible with smoke grenades and so forth, and that might also net me the win. Okay, so there is an Al-Hawa moving around. I've also revealed my other Noctifer over here as he came out with his Ghazi earlier on. So that's where the position of the Noctifers are. There is a Ghazi coming down the street with Impetuous through here. This is his last turn, by the way. A Noctifer shooting at it. The other Noctifer can't quite see it yet, so there's a bit of a shootout there. Ghazi, annoyingly, I think, survives with a smoke grenade, so continuing on down the street. And then what we're able to do, I can't believe how many face-to-face I failed against these Ghazi with the Noctivus, but now we can move out with his Hunzakut, not his Hunzakut, his Al-Hawa, and engage in a bit of a shootout between the Noctifer and the shotgun. But problem for him is that with shotgun, he has got to get within 8 inches, and as soon as he does that, then I've got the assault pistol to use. So moving the Al-Hawa here, not managing to beat the Noctifer in the face-to-face shootout at all. But not dying either, which is a bit of an annoyance. He then moves around with his Rafiq drone and presses the button on this, just because smoke is blocking the street and I can't actually line of sight to him. So picking up an objective point here by pressing the button with the remote. Now, what he did next actually surprised me. He decided to move away from the objective with his Rafiq, just assuming that I would shoot him later in the game. I think it's better to leave the Rafiq there because he does get an additional point by leaving his specialist next to the objective as far as I can remember. I'll have to double check the mission, but that's, I believe, what happens. Now, it's true that I might be able to shoot him with my Noctifer in my turn, but that's just a whole order that might even go wrong. So, because he's got nothing left to add to the game with that Rafiq, and this is his last turn, it would have been better to leave the Rafiq there. He's also moving around with his Hunzakut now, just towards the objective low. Doesn't really have enough orders later in this to complete it, but leaving him there is a good idea because it allows him to respond with arrows to any troops that I move through to take his objective. So I actually don't mind the placing of this guy at all. I just feel like if it managed to get a mine there, it would have been a lot better. There is a Lasik which has stood up in this game now. So the Lasik, not great against the Noctifer because of Tio Camo, but it still does have a good fire lane down here, so I will have to actually have a shootout with it at some point. He has a Farzan, which moves further around towards this objective. My Shrouded, in an earlier turn, has placed a mine, so the Farzan decides to tank it. He decides to move around and dodge it, and luckily for him, does manage to survive against the mine, so a bit of good luck there for Haqqislam. And then, what we're seeing with the Rafiq is the Rafiq moving through to actually contest the middle objective. So, like I said earlier, guys, I would have preferred that the Rafiq was used for the other objective and that he used some other trooper for this. I think that would have been a better play. But at least he has something contesting it. So there's a lot that can go wrong on my turn. I can easily lose this game, actually, now because I've got to clear out his Rafiq, I've got to take out some arrow pieces, and I've got to put my own models next to his objectives. Lastly, he's got nothing left to do with his Rajik. There were no opportunities to bring him on early in the game because of the Noctivers, so he just lands there. I decide not to shoot at him with the Shrouded, because if I do that, then and he'll be dogged and he's going to shoot me in his final order. He has one more order. What he could do is just discover me, and then if I shoot back at him, he can shoot me, or if I don't respond, he might pass the whip check and then shoot at me. But he decides just to go into suppression fire anyway, so I decide to have the free shot at him, and that does actually, hit the Rajik but not kill him. So, yeah. A little bit of an inexperienced misplay from the Rajik here, but again, this guy's only played like 2 or 3 games, so the mechanics of dealing with Marcus State isn't really all there yet. Gotta say, though, for somebody who's only played a few games of infiNity against me, who've been playing infiNity for 3 years, I'm in a spot here where I can easily lose this game. So it's not like a mismatch or anything like that, in my opinion. Okay, so first thing, the Noctifer actually fires a missile at the Ghazi to destroy it, just because this is in a separate group with a order of its own, and this, I believe, does manage to damage the Ghazi. I think what happened here, actually no. What may have happened is that I went for the Lasik rather than the Ghazi, because the Lasik's over here. I don't really mind if the Ghazi throws a smoke grenade so much, just because that will block line of sight, and I might have been able to move the Speculo if he does block himself with smoke, because the Speculo can't be jammed while he's in Marcus State, and the Speculo could even actually attack the Ghazi there, if you know what I mean, in the smoke cloud. Okay, so the Doctor goes for his whip check and passes the whip check, which is the most important thing here. Bear in mind, I've got something like a 65% or 70% chance of passing this, 14 or less on 1 dice, so it's not like, super lucky that I'm passing this. I set up the play in the previous turn, luckily managing to roll a 14 or less. So now Shishkin can move out and actually shoot that Ghazi, who may or may not have put a smoke in front of him, but either way, the Red Fury shoots through the gap here and just gets rid of him. So go Shishkin. Next up, Shishkin can make a long-range sort of shot at the Rajik. Rajik is pretty poor dice to hit at long range, but Shishkin's got 4 dice plus skill 15 and eradicates him with the Red Fury. So that's pretty awesome. Next up, she's able to move towards the objective. Oh, I should point out that I have an opportunity to actually press the button here with the Shrouded. He's taken it back with his Farzan, but the Shrouded has an opportunity to press the button and bring it back to my side. Shishkin now moving forward, revealing the Hunzakut after the Lasik's been destroyed by the Noctifer, of course, and does manage to shred the Hunzakut after it's revealed, and obviously the Rajik as well. So not the Rajik, the Rafik. Their names are very similar. Moving forward here, Shishkin's just way too powerful for these guys. Even with rifles and shotguns, the Red Fury just makes a mess of them. So ending up with the end of the game, getting shot by a Nafadon back here, but she's got NWI. So ending the game with Shishkin in base to base with the center. She's the data tracker. So as you guys can see, a lot could have gone wrong in this game. I was a little bit unlucky in the sense that some of the missiles got blocked by smoke earlier on. They could have done a lot more damage. I was a little bit unlucky in the sense that I got jammered with both Doctor and Shishkin earlier on. Bit and Kiss had a couple of unlucky face-to-face rolls, although they weren't particularly favoured for me. But then I also got lucky by passing the whip check with the Doctor. Definitely got lucky by killing the Jambazan. That wasn't really expected to happen, but it did. So yeah, it was actually quite a tough game. I felt I played reasonably well, but I did drop the ball, I think, with a couple of my turns there. I played Bit and Kiss quite poorly. I didn't play them badly initially, but the end of their little run was actually poorly played. I should have kept them alive for a bit. And my Shrouded, I basically got lucky to survive the Ghazi's chain rifle. I should have played a bit better to have avoided him. So not my best game, I've got to say. It was played quite poorly, but we are 2 games into the event now. Shasvastii are up 2 games, and we'll see what happens with the third one. Hopefully, guys, stick around to check it out, and we'll see you again soon.